So this is our monthly meetup, and our just run of show tonight is we're going to have our introductions, and then we'll start the presentation shortly. And then afterwards, we're going to have a door prize, and we'll have some networking, and you can come and go as you like. And then we'll close everything up by 8 o'clock. But do tell us where you are from in the chat. We'd like to know that. And I also have a quick poll that I want to ask you guys. If y'all could just take a moment and let me know what area of interest you are, what's your area of interest while you're here. Okay. Just go ahead and keep taking that as I go. I'll share the results after the intros. So the next we have. Okay. All right. So UXSA Culture. We wanted to let you guys know that we are really. Culture is really important to us, and humans create culture by default or intention. And so we want to make sure that UXSA is intentional and supportive, and we support curiosity, growth, networking, and inclusion. We want to be a safe place for people to feel like they can ask questions no matter what their level of experience, and express their thoughts and reach out and connect with us, whoever they feel like they have a connection with. We really want to make sure that you feel heard and a part of the community. We are all volunteers, and we want to, help everyone. So it's, we hope that we are making that culture. If you're ever finding that we're not, please let us know. All right, and our UXSA Leadership, I'm Cherri, I'm the president, and Paula is our VP of Marketing. She's out sick this evening. Adrienne is on the line. She's going to be presenting with me this evening, and Susan is here as well. She's manning the door. She's our fill in the blank, anything we need from her. She's amazing. So we're so glad she's here tonight. We also have some volunteers that wanted to recognize. Viviana's been doing our social media. Aurelius and Eve and Pooja have been doing some research work and video. Eve is helping take over the video after tonight. She'll help us get that ready to put up on the YouTube channel. And Aurelius and Pooja have been helping with some surveys that we're doing. So if you feel like there's something you want to volunteer for, there's plenty of things for you to do. Just let us know what your area of interest is, and we can help you out. A few announcements. I did want to let you know about that survey I was just saying. Susan, I sent you that survey in the Slack. If you could share that. We are doing a survey. We're asking people if they're ready to come back or not, and a few questions around that. If you can go ahead and take a moment and do that. I know we're just hitting you with polls and surveys and all that, but you don't have to answer it right away. You can just open it and set it to the side and answer it later. But we also, when I was talking about the volunteers, we have just launched volunteers. So, we have just launched a site for volunteers to come get UXSA swag. Look at this adorable stuff. I don't know if y'all can see that or not. Stop sharing, start sharing. Okay, here we go. All right. So I have the large floral tote bag. Susan has this bag, I believe, and Adrienne got the coffee cup, and Paula got this t-shirt, but we have notebooks and things like that. So we have lots of fun things that we will give out volunteer bucks for the time you spend volunteering with us, so you can get some swag. So I did want to bring that up. And all right, so let's move on to the next.
Adrienne designed them.
Yes, she did. She designed every piece. You're amazing. So we have many ways to connect with us. I want to make sure that you feel comfortable connecting with us and how to find our information. We have been around for about 2 years now, so we have been accumulating information from everybody and from our groups. So we have Facebook page. We have 137 followers. LinkedIn is pretty much our really active social media channel. We have 361 followers there. We've gotten a lot of memberships to the meetup from there. We use Slack quite a bit. We've got 203 members on there. There's a Slack invitation also that we can share with you if you're interested. And we have a YouTube channel that has all of our videos from our meetings from the last 2 years on there. So just subscribe for that. And once it's uploaded, you'll know when it's there. There's lots of different content for all the different interests.
For folks who have not used Slack before, let's talk about the kinds of quick consults and just value that we can get from having a bunch of UXers or user researchers or product managers just at your beck and call. If you're logged in, I can just reach out and ask Adrienne, hey, I'm dealing with this problem, or have you ever used Notion, or, you know, any kind of thing, like I'm getting a job interview, what should I say? You know,
right.
We get that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and we've done just that. We've supported people who needed a pep talk before an interview. We've done run-throughs of their resumes or their portfolios and things like that. It's just, we try to help each other out. So please use those resources.
Yeah, Slack
around all day.
Immediate feedback. Usually there's almost always somebody listening.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a way to not feel alone with your UXing.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for that. We also have the meetup, of course. That's how we got here, and we may be putting Eventbrite in there soon. But we have our website at uxsanantonio.org. We put our events and things on there. We have a few blog posts on there that we need to catch back up and things, but it is volunteer organization. But we've done an amazing job with just keeping the website up and going, and Adrienne and her team and volunteers are working on some updates on it now too. So it's very exciting. All right. So we do have sponsors that have helped us, and we have USAA gave us a good starter package when we first started 2 years ago, and Firecat Studio, Susan has Firecat Studio. She's giving to us all the time, and of her time and talent. Pressable hosts our website and for free, and we also get private donations every month. And I wanted to make sure that you guys knew that you can. That's another announcement that I forgot. You can donate directly to us by going onto the website, and you can do a one-time donation and put in the amount that you'd like to. It could be $5, $10, whatever. So we can keep this going, and it helps us, make things for you. But it's tax deductible. So if you feel like so inclined. And then we have talent agencies and things like that. I did reach out to BrookSource this evening. They were not able to get somebody here, but we're gonna work on getting a regular sponsor from BrookSource. They are a talent employment agency for UX. So they're actually the one that got me and brought me into HEV, the job I'm in now. So we had Tech Studios in Aquint last year, so that turned out pretty well. All right, so now we are at our presentation for the evening. But before we do that, let me share the results of the poll so far. Let's see, let me relaunch the poll for those who just came. If y'all want to add, might have to do it again, so sorry. So go ahead and take the poll again one more time, and we will share the results, and then we'll start our presentation. Okay. So you had a pretty good balance there, I think. When there's someone from development. Let's see, 7 of 12 have participated. There's 8. Okay. Okay. All right. Anybody else need to put in there? Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and share and end the poll and share the results. And here we go. Can y'all see it?
It's like a tie between research and design.
I know, but I'm glad there's some content and development in there too. And to find a mentor, that's good. And there's nobody that's not sure. That's
And is
good.
there anybody else that, you know, are you in marketing? Would you be interested in marketing content? A lot of times we have a silo between UX and marketing, and it can be interesting to cross the streams on that one.
I think I would be interested in marketing.
Yeah, we don't have marketing on the list, Viviana. We don't have that on there.
But
So
we're interested if you're interested.
yeah. Okay, great. Oh, no, Viviana, you put it on interesting. I don't have that option. I thought you put marketing. Sorry. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. I just thought that was interesting. We've got a good range of interest here. So what we're going to talk about this evening, and I will let Adrienne talk a little bit. We wanted to share this information with you guys because we found that there was a need for that. Lots of questions about interviews and how you do an interview with UX jobs, and they are slightly different, and they have a few quirky things about them that you may want to expect and not things that you shouldn't expect. So we're going to try to help identify those things for you. So we're going to talk about the types of interviews that you're going to have, and then how to prepare ahead of time. And with the how to prepare ahead of time, we've got some tools for you. Questions to ask them. You know, everybody's always talking about questions they may ask you, but you need to be able to ask them as well. And that's a really important thing for user experience interviews. Salary negotiation. So we're going to show you some tools on how to know what to do there. And then how to read the job description. So once you're looking at a job description, what is it telling you? What is that? What do those words mean? And if you can tell a lot about a company from that. And we have some other tools for that as well. So we'll go ahead and get started on it. And so the types of interviews and red flags, we just kind of wanted to jump right in there and talk about screener interviews. We would have screener interviews is usually what starts it out. You get a call from a recruiter or an HR person, and they give you a phone call, usually phone, and they kind of screen you by talking to you, asking you a few questions, making sure you're kind of fitting the space that they're looking for, because they know what the hiring manager is looking for. If they're like, yes, this is the person they're looking for, this is perfect, then they get you an interview with the hiring manager, and that's usually by phone or Zoom or in person. Nowadays we're good more in person, so it might be an hour, 30 minutes to an hour. And once they feel like you're a good fit of someone that they want to manage, then they'll move you on and usually talk to you about the teammates, and they will get you scheduled with the teammates. And that's what happened with me. I was talking to the recruiter, then I got a hiring manager interview, and then I was scheduled with 2 teammates, and they were looking to me for skill level, because the hiring manager may not know the details, day-to-day details. So they rely on the teammates who are doing the day-to-day to know and vet me for the skill level and personality fit. So they use the teammates to do that. And of course, if you're going to work alongside someone, you're going to need to know the personality and like them. So, and how easy is to talk to you? Can you hold your own, you know, in a conversation or with clients, that sort of thing. So they'll be looking for those kind of things. And then after that, it goes back to the HR person or recruiter for the next steps. And I'll let Adrienne talk about some red flags.
Awesome. Red flags. You know, Cherri and I have kind of like privately talked a lot about, you know, some of the interesting things that have happened in job interviews. And again, I'm speaking only from my experience. You know, I don't do hiring, but from my experience being somebody who goes to interviews and who interviews for jobs, there's a couple of things that kind of stand out that are, again, red flags. So interviewer shows up later unprepared, vague on the job description details. So if they don't care enough about the interview process, if they won't represent themselves professionally, that's a huge red flag. Also, if there's any ambiguity on the job description, that can become a problem a little bit later on. If you are hired, they may ask you to do things that are, you know, way outside of your skill set or your comfort zone. And it's just good to know, you know, what the expectations are ahead of time. So again, it's about the professionalism on their side. A design test is required. This is something a lot of recruiters are talking about on LinkedIn. A lot of us, you know, my colleagues and I, you know, even within UXSA, we talk about this design test. It's, and I would say in my experience, the people who hire me look at my portfolio and they talk to me. They don't ask me to do a design test for them.
Improve your skills. Yeah.
Yeah. Anytime that I have done a design test, I have found out later that it's just work that they use on the side. They're just trying to get free work, or they don't have enough confidence in me. And if they don't have enough confidence in me from my portfolio, from my resume, and from talking to me, and from my level of experience, why am I doing free work? So I would say, don't ever do a design test, but again, it's up to you.
Would they consider it if they don't have any experience, if they're 100% entry level?
So it's interesting that you say that, because I actually talked to my recruiter, because I work for an agency. I work for Tech Systems. Technically, they're my agency that is placing me right now. And we've talked about that. And we talked about, you know, at UXSA, we have workshops and we're thinking about doing, you know, some of those hands-on projects. And my recruiter said, you know, that's amazing. If it's something that you can put in your portfolio, even if it hasn't shipped, if it's shippable, that's great. So if you want to do a design test and if you want to put something in your portfolio, I would say, create that on your own. And then again, you can interact with us here at UXSA if you want some critiques on that project. But I would say do it on your own time. If you want to put something that's shippable, even if it hasn't shipped in your portfolio, do that. But bring that to the interview. Don't wait for them to ask you to do something. That's just, I highly recommend against doing the design test.
Yeah, and just as an example, we were talking about this and we were putting the slide together. When I was looking for a job a couple of years ago, I was looking and they said, we just launched the new website. Can you go through and critique it? And I should have said that I'm not doing that. And then I critiqued it. I tore them apart. And I also, he wanted me to present it to the designer and the content person. And so I did. And pretty much knew I wasn't going to get the job because, I mean, it made it really awkward, but I did it anyway because I'm like, whatever, I don't care. It gave me some experience, something to do. So that was really odd and a red flag, and I ended up not doing anything with them. So, but yeah, it's just weird things people have.
Yeah, if it seems kind of weird, like that situation that Cherri just described, that's weird. So
Yeah.
that's a red flag. So if you feel weird, trust your instinct.
Mhm.
We also talked about, Cherri and I was also talking about pressuring you to sign up or send personal information. You know, in my experience, there are some recruiters that contact me and they ask me for a bunch of information. And I kind of question, you know, are you even like a service provider for this company that you're saying that you're trying to put me in front of? Sometimes there are some recruiters that just want to use you as pipeline. So they'll say, hey, I've got all these resumes and I've got all these people here. I'm just going to submit them for this job, hoping that they'll get that contract. And that can work against you because now, let's say you wanted to apply for a job at General Motors. Now, because you've been submitted by contracting agency, you may be immediately sort of off the list for hiring in order to so that the company doesn't have to pay a fee to the agency. So be very careful about if you're submitting your resume, if you just blindly submit your resume to contract agencies, make sure that they have an actual contract with that agency.
Yeah, and just to add to that is, you know, there's a lot of scammers out there. And if you have your personal information, more than your email and phone number, if you have your address, your, you know, social security number, any of those things, even your picture on your resume, and it's out in the wild, they can use that and say, oh, we got a job for you. And then say, now we need your social security number. Now we need your bank account. Now we need your this and that. And, you know, just like, whoop, red flag. No. So don't give them anything other than what you know and you feel comfortable giving them at the first, you know, make them work for it.
Yeah, sometimes they'll ask you for the last four of your social security number just to, just in case you have two people with the same name. That's okay. Yeah, that's not scary. Let's see, what else were we talking about? Lowball offers. Yeah, so if they are like, and again, this happens a lot with people who are more at the junior level, like they pretty much want you to work for almost free. Have a little more self-respect, because if you don't respect yourself, they're not going to respect you either. So yeah, just.
And I'll add to that. I did get lowballed on a company, and I called Susan and I was like, what the hell? I don't know what to do. I really want to work for this company. They know what I ask for, and they're lowballing me. And she said, you go back to them and you tell them this is how much you want. And I said, so I did. And the way that he presented it to me was, let's talk about it. So I felt like he was keeping the door open. And then whenever I called him back and said, we need to talk about this, this is way too low. And he said, I was hoping that you would say that, because I just wanted to see if you were going to fight for your worth. I thought it was playing games a little bit, but it ended up being okay. And it was okay company. So just kind of balance it out with what you feel like, you know, follow your gut and talk to us if you need somebody to bounce it off of.
Yep. And then, yeah, the last three, I think we can pretty much combine together. No one's been there very long. There's like a huge turnover, super red flag. Like it's a toxic environment, an abusive environment. There's something wrong there. And I have had the situation where I've been in a job interview and the person who's interviewing me is usually not the hiring manager, but it's on that teammate panel, team one-on-ones where they're complaining about their coworkers. One that comes to mind is talking to a developer, and he was like ranting about user experience designers. And I was like, do you want to like talk about this? Or you know? But I was like, instantly at that point, it was like, and no, thank you. But yeah, and if they're disorganized, if they don't have a great process, and you know, if you ask questions about process and they're like, I don't know, you know, you just come in and do the UX. It's whoa, okay. Yeah, I could talk a lot about how that is just a big red flag. But yeah, if IT doesn't understand what user experience does and you're going to be on the IT team,
yeah,
run.
It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard.
It's be hard.
And Allie, I saw your question about the low ball range. We are going to cover salaries in a little bit, so we'll give you some ideas of the range and where to look for that, okay?
Okay.
All right, next slide. All right. How to prepare for the interview. Number one, you need to research the company, make sure they're a legitimate company. I've even gotten down the road of talking to someone and they're like, you need to meet me on the Skype messenger, blah, blah, blah. And then now I can't talk to you because it's really loud and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, this is not even a real company. And I said, this is a scam. No, it's not. I said, then he says, are you married? Do you have children? I'm like, that's against the law to ask me that. You cannot ask me that. This is a scam. And he's like, no, it's not. I'm like, okay, bye. But research the company, make sure they're legitimate. Do it through their website, through LinkedIn. Glassdoor is the Yelp of company businesses. And so you'll see where previous employees have either complained or raved about them there. And look up even for the company reviews. Try to see, you know, if it's just a disgruntled person who wasn't doing a good job, or you know, is there a theme here? So use your research skills for that. We have talking points that we can share with you, but you need to make your own, and we can give you an example. But there's talking points you can use, and talk to your resume and talk to your portfolio and all of that, and go ahead and think out those questions that might be asked of you. And then that way, whenever you're asked, you're not caught off guard. You know, you don't want to be rehearsed. So you just want to go over it 3 to 5 times or so, but don't do it 20 times. So just do 3 to 5 times so that you're familiar with it. You know where it's at. You can still speak to it with you know, authenticity, but you'll have your answers already thought through, and you can focus on, you know, the issues that they're talking about, or the, you know, specific questions. So, and the bank of questions, and that's a bank of questions of what you would ask them. We have quite a few of those that we can share with you, and we can send that a link to that at the end of this. And I just don't want to go through all of them right now because they're good, and we can just be here all night doing that. Try to set up some mock interviews. And that's why we're here, you know, set up some mock interviews, get used to talking to people in a, you know, Zoom setting or in person and that sort of thing. And just kind of, because we've been locked up so long, sometimes you forget. So we need to practice talking to strangers a little bit, you know. And then networking to make contact with current employees. Adrienne, you want to share about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, if you're researching a job and it's a place that you really want to work, networking, across LinkedIn can have two great benefits. One is, if you reach out to somebody who works there, it's in a similar position as you can get an understanding of the culture, sort of what's expected. But again, you can also, if you're networking, that can also kind of help champion you a little bit. If you're kind of getting to know some of the coworkers or your maybe future coworkers, and you can ask them really great questions. I had somebody reach out to me and was like, "Hey, what is the design maturity level at Dell?" And I was like, "Well, this is what we do, and these are kind of the like the structures that we have in place." And he was really able to make a great decision on whether he wanted to apply or not. So if you can network, I have a friend a colleague that I work with now, and she says every single job that I've ever had has been like a friend or somebody that I've reached out has recommended me for that job. So
networking is important.
Networking can be really important, but again, it's not just about do they want you, it's about do you want them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's always a two-way street. So, and then the UXSA Slack is, like we're saying, is where we're here to support you for this whole journey. And that's just getting in, getting your foot in the door, practicing, building up your skills, that sort of thing. And this is because we didn't have a whole lot of that. We had to do a lot of it ourselves. And so we found each other. We're just kind of like, oh, let's, help each other and help the others. So that's why we're here. And there's other groups just like us, UX groups, and we're not shy about sharing who those are as well. There's so much great information out there and so many good speakers and lessons and things like that, depending on what you're interested in at the time or needing. So
people love to talk about their job, their passions. So don't hesitate to reach out to people.
Yeah. So is this your slide?
You can.
Okay.
Whatever.
Okay, so questions to ask the interview, like you said before, that it's you interviewing them as well. So you need to make sure that they have the level of design maturity in the organization. And by that we mean, are they a supportive group? Do they have researchers, designers, and developers and product managers and tech team and leadership that understand UX? That understand what user experience means? That means we have to talk to the users. We don't take the big, the guy who makes the most money in the room, we don't take his opinion as what to design. We talk to the users. And that is the biggest difference in just, being in a company and making things happen and being a UX person, is you talk to the users. And so are they supportive of that? What is their maturity level? And there is actually some graphs and things that you can look at to see what the maturity level. There's questions you can take online to tell you what the maturity level is, like a 1 through 5. And most of them are around a 3. Very few are at 4 or 5. And most are at 1. So they're just getting started. They've heard about this weird thing called UX. They're not so sure, but they want to get started on it. They want to make sure they sound like they know what they're doing. So they're going to hire a UXer. And then
or they don't even know to ask for a UXer.
Yeah. Or they think
designer, they need a web designer.
Yeah. And the UI UX thing is kind of an older term, and it depends on what they're looking for. And you can tell a lot by the job description on the maturity level as well. And their expected duties and things like that. Because if they're asking you to do the research and the design and all of the presentations and all of that stuff, they want a unicorn. They don't want, just a researcher, but they're advertising it as such. So it'll help if you know the maturity level of it.
And if they don't know, when you ask them what is the design maturity level and they ask you what does that mean, that's a huge
red flag.
Or it can be a starting point, right?
Yeah.
Not everybody gets to start in an organization that has a mature design practice.
Right.
Sometimes you would take on a startup that you're just super excited about, or maybe you're entry level and you want to,
that's true. It depends on your
okay to start where you have to start,
right.
But just know going in. And I have a good resource for if you're a one-man band, somebody's wanting you to be a unicorn. There's a Rosenfeld Media book called The Design Team of One.
Mm-hmm.
And so even if you end up taking a job where you're the only designer in a developer culture or in just some business that only needs one designer, or they think they only need one designer, you can leverage that and you can grow and you can help an organization take some steps on that journey.
Yeah, that's true. And I don't mean to discourage. Yeah, I don't mean to discourage you from taking the job. So it depends on your level of where you are. If you feel like you need more mentorship and you need more collaboration, then you need to be in a larger company that can support that, and the maturity level needs to be a little higher. There's some places that have 30, 40 different researchers, and then they have 70 something designers. It's like you're going to be around a lot of people you can talk shop with. If you're going to be the only one, that's probably better for a senior person who feels like they can handle that, because a newer person may not be able to to do that, and it would be difficult. I'm just
Right.
saying, don't want to throw you in there.
Like if the maturity level is low, are they hiring you to sort of bring in that design leadership? Or if maturity level is low and they're bringing you on, but you aren't going to be the one that's sort of pioneering the design thinking and that, the design practice, they just want you to make things pretty, like that would be something that you really want to consider and talk through. Yeah.
All right. So, another question is, if you're hired, what does success look like in the next 90 days or 6 months, or how do they measure success? So you want to make sure that they understand what success looks like in your job. Otherwise, how are you supposed to know if you're doing well or not? Are there feedback sessions? Are there one-on-ones? Or is there a review process, that sort of thing? We expect you to be, takes 90 days to get caught up on everything and be a part of the projects and start contributing. And then at 6 months, we expect you to do this. They have to have some kind of idea. If they have no idea, again, it's your best judgment. And then how long have your potential teammates been there? Before, like I said, the red flag, if everybody's been there for 2 years or less, I don't know. Might be a big turnover, but ask why, or if they've all been promoted within and moved up, great, but if they have not, they've all gone to other places or they're no longer there, it just depends. So, and then how would you find the biggest challenge for this position? What do you find as the biggest challenge for this position that this role will help with? And we put that question in there because I have used it a few times when I was talking to teams that I've interviewed, and it's basically saying, what is your pain point that I can help you with if I'm hired? What can I do to help you do your job? And they are just like, what? Nobody's ever asked me that before. And they're like, this would be great if I could really work with somebody who knows and understands this part of it, and it can help me with this process or understand the UX process, or, that sort of thing. It really makes them think about that and you in that position. So that's a real good question to ask the interviewer. All right. Adrienne, I'll let you take this one. Or okay. Susan wants to help.
Salary negotiation. So Kristen actually had a question that we didn't cover in here. So maybe I'll get to that first. She asked, I saw a post saying if they offer unlimited vacation PTO, they're more inclined to frown upon you taking time off. Is that true? And that was something that we had in here that you and I talked about a little bit, Cherri, is the whole, is PTO accrued? Is that part of your salary? With that unlimited vacation PTO, yeah, there could be, and again, it's kind of up to the culture. Most companies will now are saying if you're going to have the unlimited vacation PTO, you have to take off a certain amount of time just to avoid burnout and like mental health issues, right? So those are the kinds of things you can talk about with human resources. And then also, you can also use additional PTO instead of salary to kind of negotiate about that. But I think it's important to understand, is that PTO, if it's accrued monthly, that is part of your salary. So you should use it. You should just have a clear understanding. We also talked about, let's see, who was it? Allie had a question about what's like lowball range for UX researcher or designer. So there's a couple of websites that you can use to kind of find out a little bit more information. So salary.com and Glassdoor. It's also, for somebody with 5 years of experience living in San Antonio, Texas, versus somebody with 5 years experience that lives in San Francisco, California, you're going to find really different ranges. in pay. So it's important to understand, where you're living. So you can use some of those tools as well. And sometimes there's like a little bit of a configurator. So, and you can also you can talk to people too. Reach out to us on Slack. Some people who are hiring managers can tell you like, and then Cherri has at the end of this presentation, she's got some ranges. But that I think can help you with the salary negotiation. And again, it's just really important to ask for as much money as you can make.
Absolutely.
There's no.
Yeah.
This is hard for most people.
Levels. Yep, that's great. Sorry.
Very hard. Yeah.
So can you guys talk a little bit more about how you approach it? Cherri, you said you had a low ball test.
Yeah, when I called you and I'm like, what the hell? I don't know what to do. I want to work for this company. I really like them, but he's given me like $30,000 less than what I was asking.
Right.
And I had already been working for them as a contractor. So I knew the people. So that put me in a different position, right? So I had some experience with the people. I knew it was a good company. I didn't understand why he was lowballing me like that. But he kept the door open, like, we will talk about this. If this is not what fits you, let's talk about this. And so, yeah, you look at like Kristen said, you look at the market rate for what's going on, and you say, that's just not fair. I think I'm worth that. I have 15 years experience of business acumen in the software space. And I have 7 years of research experience. I think I demand that salary. And, I don't think it's fair that you lowballed me. And I know that you can do more, you can do better than that. And so, and it's really hard because you kind of go back and forth with numbers. And he's like, okay, I can only authorize up to this amount. If it's over that amount, I have to go to the president and ask. And I had a number in my head that I had discussed with Susan. So I'm like, she said, get a number in your head that you cannot go below. You just cannot, like, I'm going to walk away if they won't meet that number. And so I had that number in my head and I got over that. So he was like, just an example. He was like, I can't give you more than 115. And I was like, without approval. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, and I said, what about like 112, 110? And he's like, what about one, it's like we're sitting here literally negotiating. And he was like, what about 105 or something? And I said, 106. He said, okay, it's a deal.
But you already knew him.
I knew him, and that's a little bit different, yes, because I had been working with him, but we were negotiating that way and my lowest was 1, so I'm like, I got way over.
I'm not going to feel good unless I get,
Yes.
so there's 2 numbers I think everybody should try to have before you go into the negotiation is, what do you really want? Like, what would make you delighted?
Yes.
And then I will not be happy if I get less than this. And then if you practice saying them in your minds, put it on a Post-it note and stick it to your monitor so that you get used to it. Because a lot of times you're asking for more than you have imposter syndrome. When you see that number, oh my God. So put it on a Post-it note. I have my consulting rates on a Post-it note here right now because I have trouble asking for what I'm worth, partly because San Antonio is a depressed market for this stuff. But they, especially with COVID, now everybody's figured out they can get talent from anywhere. Hello. And you tell them things like, let's give them some talking points. The UX market for talent is really tight right now. I've got lots of opportunities. I really want to work for you. And this is the number that would make me delighted to say yes. I would say yes immediately. I would be so happy. Right. And if they talk you off of that, at least and put it higher than you think you can get, because you can always come down and you can't go back up.
Yeah.
Right. Once you've said, and there's a lot of advice about that. Try not to be the first person that says a number. I don't believe that. If you've already thought, I would be delighted with 175,000 a year.
Yeah.
You don't have to think about it. Like, yes,
Yeah.
I would be delighted. Let's go.
Amazing if I could get
Right.
that. Yeah.
So, it's like, it doesn't hurt anything, and say, but other things so it's like a little series of flywheels. Other aspects of it also matter to me. How much autonomy I will have, how strict are you about butts and seat time?
Right.
Say it.
I had 100% paid for healthcare, and unlimited PTO, that sort of stuff. So
that mattered to you. And it's also, I've also said, my husband has insurance.
right.
That's not one of the things that matters to me, because they'll try to tell you, USAA is very famous for this. We have the best benefits in the industry.
But
it's like,
right
what?
now, right now I'm on contractor and my husband's covering my insurance. So
So you can say that I understand that's valuable, but it's not valuable to me. What do I mean about butts in the seats? So flexibility of work. Like, do I have some flexibility of the time that I spend working? Do I have a work from home thing? Can I go pick up my kid at 3:30 and then come back? That kind of flexibility can be very valuable depending on what position you're in. I have a disabled husband that he needs me home most of the time. So if I had to show up in some office downtown, it would be a non-starter. If you are not required to commute as much, that's a cost savings to you and a time saving. So think about all the different things and be creative about how they could help you meet your needs. Maybe if, they don't mind you freelancing or whatever, you can make packages for yourself, create options for yourself.
And if they want you, they will work with you.
Right.
Yeah.
And tell them you want them.
Yeah.
If you do, just do not hold back on that. Like, I am so excited about, the company values that I see on your website. And I looked on Glassdoor and people are happy there. I want to be happy there. I see myself working for you, and show enthusiasm.
But I need these things.
But what would really make me like, I want to be there for the long term. I want to, have this be the next important thing in my career. So also, I'm sure you're going to get to it, the path upward matters. And it shows that you're ambitious and that you're a lifelong learner, right?
And
Anyway.
I would just piggyback onto that. Aurelius asked a question about, asking for a pay raise versus, I think, versus salary negotiation. I feel strongly, if you've gone through the interview process, and again, this is something that I try to tell myself, we always want to be agreeable. We always want to be accommodating. We always want to be the nice guy. But you don't need to justify why you're worth that amount of money that you're asking for. If you're in the interview process. However, if you're asking for like a promotion and a raise, you may want to, sort of summarize your accomplishments, and you may need to do a little bit of justification when you're asking for a pay bump or a pay raise. But I feel strongly, to be polite, during the salary negotiation, but don't bring your personal emotion into it. If they give you an offer, if they're like 10,000 less than what you wanted to make, and you're not comfortable with that, just say, I'm not comfortable with that. Or in order for me to leave my current position, I'm going to need to make, X amount of money. And if you can't do that, then I wish you the best, if it comes to that part of the salary negotiation. But just be polite. Don't take it personally. Their goal is to reduce their spend as much as possible. They're going to try to get the best quality at the lowest price. But so don't take it personally, but also don't, have respect for yourself and, get money, get paid.
And it's part of the community thing that we all keep, the bar, we have to keep the bar high. John, what's your question? Your comment?
Actually, I have a comment for Aurelius because we went through that exact exercise in our team recently. It's very clearly an applicant's market right now. And the salaries you can command, especially in the Bay Area, are eye-wateringly high. It's obscene what some companies are paying. And what you should take into account, I completely agree with what Adrienne said. It's all about being polite. It's all about being courteous and respectful. But also, if you leave the company, the amount that the company has to offer a new hire will be massively higher than probably the raise that you're asking for. Then there's the effect of, if you leave, they will have to go through the exercise of finding someone. There are the team dynamics that are a little bit uprooted, if you will. There's the sheer cost involved of recruitment, et cetera. And one thing I read on LinkedIn recently was that someone asked for a $15,000 raise, which is very, very reasonable in the Bay Area these days. And the company said no, and he left, and they were found themselves with having to offer tens of thousands of dollars more for a new hire, because that's how the salary had gotten up. In our case, we said we're not very happy with our current overall baseline, and said, look, here's the research. Look at what the Bay Area is paying these days. And our team actually managed to get a re-leveling for the entire team. Again, it's not about being confrontational. It's just saying, look, here's the value we bring. We could make this amount of money. I would walk out the door. I would have a new contract in hand. Of course, I'm exaggerating, but it is an applicant's market, and you should not be afraid to command a high price. And forgive me for being a little bit personal, but Cherri, when you said, I think it would be fair to ask this, I think that's almost shortchanging yourself. If you would say, I know what I'm worth, this is my experience. If you don't want to pay for me, then I cannot work for you.
Yeah.
And it's right that you really say, look, I know how good I am, and I know that how hard this is for all of us with imposter syndrome, and we're kind of afraid that they might not go through with the offer. But also consider this: if you're at the point where discussing salary, they want to hire you.
Yeah.
They have screened you, they are convinced you're the right person. And if you aim too high, they will say, yeah, no, that might be a bit high. You will not lose the chance to get an offer if you aim too high.
Right. Well, let me tell you what
Right.
happened.
Would love to hear it, Cherri.
Let me tell you what happened. So part two. I went ahead and took that salary and went ahead and worked for them. And I thought, well, I'm going to just, help them build their research team. And, we'll see how it goes. And maybe because they were hiring from within, they did a lot of that. And it was looking like they were growing pretty fast, and there were some growth opportunities. So I thought, okay, I'll give it a chance. And then in January, when I was almost a year to the day of me being there, I was almost time for our reviews. I got recruited to go to work at HEB for $20,000 more a year. And I said, bye.
That sounds so awesome when you say that with that gentle Texan accent. I love it.
Bye.
That's awesome.
See you later. And I even told them, the VP was in Houston. I said, I'm going to go work for HEB. And he's like, oh, I understand. See you later. I'll call you back in 6 months and get you to talk to us. I said, okay. So
Aurelis, is there, are you at a company where they have a specific time where they review and improve salaries? That's one thing to find out. Like, okay, if you can't afford it right now, when can you afford it? And then the other thing you can think about is, what other levers could you, work? Could they give you a bonus? Sometimes they have money in different buckets. It's like, I would be happy with a staying bonus, or a performance bonus, or a quarterly bonus, or maybe they're going to let you have Fridays off, or half a day Monday off, or something like that. If it's like, if you can't give me money, what else can you give me? Can you give me training? Can you give me, another week off of PTO?
right.
Just, again, creative problem solving, but holding your ground,
Yeah.
because it has never been better for UXers than right now.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Quick
Aurelius.
comment I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead, John.
A quick comment on the PTO. If they offer unlimited PTO, it's absolutely crucial that in your conversations with them, you ask how much time do people actually take off? Because the thing about unlimited PTO, it's typically a budgeting trick. If it's unlimited, it means that if you accrue time, because you cannot accrue time, they don't owe you paying for your PTO time when you leave. I've been at a company with an awesome boss, and he said, I expect you to take no less than 3 weeks, because then you won't recharge if you do. And if you take more than 4 weeks, I'm getting a bit nervous because you're taking advantage of the situation. So basically 4 weeks per year it works, and no expectations to check email, check your phone, etc. That's a great offer. If people will not answer your question about how much PTO do I actually get to take, and can I keep my phone off, that to me is a massive red flag, because it means, oh, you can take all the PTO time in the world and it's never allowed by your manager, or they expect you to be on call. Don't do that. That will not make you happy.
Yeah, that's the culture. You can see what the culture is there too. Because I've had some of them say, I'm going to call you on weekends or holidays. I'm like, I'm not going to answer. Nope. Go ahead, Aurelius.
My question was, what about if the company, because I've been expanding my skills and my knowledge and taking boot camps, doing boot camps and taking certifications and doing all that, so I can keep growing as a designer. But what about if my company doesn't require those things? Should I still try to get more, or should I just, say my goodbyes and what I learned and try to use it somewhere else? And because my dilemma also is, they do not pay me what I deserve now based on everything that I grow and learn. But they do give me a lot of flexibility as a mom. And that's why I'm like, if I go somewhere else, that's my dilemma. If I go somewhere else that might give me the pay that I deserve, I might not have that flexibility.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I
Yeah.
kind of accept the being underpaid so much, but at the same time, I am like, I know I deserve more.
Yeah. Well,
What's the
I'm
problem with asking for both, though?
Mhm.
You could, I would suggest that you start interviewing and start talking to other companies, because, what's wrong with being paid, what you're worth, and having that flexibility as a mother.
Mhm. Right. And we can help more with, on Slack and our Monday night mentor Mondays. We can talk more about that and work through specific details with you. So yes, you're welcome. All right, so then we talked about the bonus structure. Susan went over that, asked them what their bonus structure is and how does that impact your total home take home salary if bonuses are not given, and that sort of thing. So you'll know whenever you're making a salary negotiation. So, and I did look up some different job descriptions and words that will be in the title and what to expect from those kinds of duties. And this is based a lot on user research. So, but it does kind of play across UX, but I mean, you can tell me, it all depends on the job itself and the company and that sort of thing is what we were saying before, but just some ideas of what I found was, if you're an intern or a junior or an associate, and you have less than 2 years experience, their duties might be assisting someone, taking notes, organizing, that sort of thing. And the salary range is 50 to 75K, and that's starting at $25 an hour. That's what that is. So, and so I felt like that was, something that's really important. It's not going to be less than 50,000. And I've had some that were offering 30,000 and 40,000. I'm like, no, that's just, I'm not just answering the phones for you. This is real work here, and I know answering phones is too, but it's just like, no, this is completely different. So then you see mid-level, senior associate, or researcher. These might be what they're put in the title, and that's 2 to 5 years experience with planning, executing, and analyzing. That's those things that you're expecting to do, execute the actual work that's supposed to be done and give deliverables. And that's 75 to 110. And then a senior consultant or analyst is 5 to 7 years experience. You'll do the planning, the mentoring, executing, analyzing, advocating, to the upper management, and reporting to the client, that sort of thing, representing, the company to the client. And that's between 100 to 130K. And then a lead or principal or manager with 7 to 9 years experience. You'll set the priorities for the teams. You'll be the manager, setting this, strategy and mentoring and advocating and reporting to the business. And you'll be talking to them about KPIs and OKRs and things like that. And that's 120 to 200K. And there, this is just a general range, but it is a good time to be in UX right now. That was my point. So I can share this link with you as well. This has a lot of great information for researchers. Userinterviews.com does a test every year, does a survey every year from researchers and how much they make and the job community, and all of their perks and things like that they get, and it's really cool. So just keep a lookout for that. So Adrienne just put that in the thing. All right, so now we're at the Q&A session. And I know we covered a lot of those, but if there are any questions that you have that we have not covered yet, or that you want to revisit.
You didn't talk about a whiteboard interview?
No, that's the types of interviews that could happen. Let me go back to that one.
So if they're interested in strategy and the way you think, sometimes you'll get a problem to riff on during an interview.
So Viviana, tell me about what the design challenge, what do you know about it?
It's for Amazon's UXDR program. So tomorrow I'm going to do a design presentation, then a design challenge, and then 2 45-minute one-on-one interviews over their leadership principles. So I'm panicking, but I got this.
You do have this, honey.
I've been preparing literally 2 weeks, night and day. So I am a little insane right now, but what I'm most, because they literally give you like a pamphlet that says exactly what they want. So I don't know why it's just hard for me. So like the design discussion, for instance, let me pull that up. Where does it say that? Basically, they want to see how you consider the user, and if you're able to, I guess, your possibility for design thinking. So there's no design background needed for this program. I do have a design, like a very small design background, but I've already, like, I'm nervous and I don't know why I'm freaking out about it. I've done like mock design challenges, and interviews are really hard for me in general because I get very nervous. So I wonder if y'all have any tips for like a design challenge.
I do.
Okay.
So are you going to be remote?
Yes.
I would use sticky notes and put them on your, like, below on the bottom part of your monitor if it's high enough up, somewhere where you can see them, or like in front of you. And I like to start by asking them a few questions. Make sure that you're honed in on the type of user, right? So it's all about who is the user and what do you want them to do. So asking intelligent questions is a huge part of UX and design thinking. So who is the target user or users, and what do you want them to do? What is the business value of that?
Okay.
And then once you talk about them and what is the, like, what do you want them to do is their goal? What are they trying to do? And then everything flows from there. And just remember when you're freaking out that once you start, you're gonna just sort of relax. It's worst right before and right at the beginning. And then once you get talking, you can relax. So if you practice this kind of cadence is like, even if you just practice what I just said, I always start every design challenge with 2 questions. Who's the user and what do you want them to do? And just practice that several times so that it's, you know, even until it sounds kind of ridiculous to you, but your muscle memory, your volume memory, all of that, just, if you have a couple of those, it just relaxes you. And then wait for them to talk. That's the other thing is sometimes when you're nervous, you tend to blip, 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 and fill the silence.
That's me.
And so so if you practice, who's the user and what do you want them to do? And then wait for them to answer you. And then why is that important? And then wait for them to answer you. You're modeling what UX is all about just by doing that.
And take notes, but you're hearing what they're saying and then make sure you got it all covered and then you move to the next steps. Just do your design process. You know, discovery.
Right,
Yeah.
I would just add to that it's okay to be nervous. You know what I mean? It just be yourself, focus on what you think versus, you know, maybe I think where I get tripped up is, well, what is it that they want to hear? And how can I figure that out? That will always.
No, they're here to hear your side. Yeah.
So and sometimes, you know what, it's hard for us to be ourselves, right? Especially when we feel like we're literally being judged. So yeah. And you know what?
You can even acknowledge that and say, I know you're going to hear nervousness in my voice. This really matters to me. I'm really excited about it. So you've acknowledged nervous, but then you're reframing it as excited.
And if you totally blow it, forgive yourself and just try again the next time.
I've told Susan, I was in an interview and I said the stupidest thing. They asked me, what is my strength? And I had not prepared. I had not gotten my list together. And I said, I do what I say I'm going to do. And I'm like, what does that mean? That has nothing to do with the job description, or like I wear deodorant every day. So what? You know, why did I say that? And Susan said, sometimes it's just not meant to be. You know,
I think it's a wonderful answer though. That one, I think it's, I mean,
well,
how many people have you worked with that didn't do what they said?
Well, I could just hear their eyes rolling. I just, you know, I don't know. It just, it was, and it turned out fine. You know, I ended up with I'm in a great position now. So it just, you know, it works. So, but Viviana, we're happy. What time is your appointment tomorrow?
It is from like 11:45 to 3:45.
Okay. I'll do a dance party with you before.
Thanks.
I have a 30-second dance party before, so you can loosen up a little bit. Okay. Just message me.
Okay, so I'm reading your design discussion prompt. The other thing that you would maybe riff on in any design situation is what is the user's context? Like, where are they going to be? It's different to design for, you know, I'm on the train, I'm picking up my kids, I'm, you know, whatever, I'm mobile versus desktop versus I'm in an office versus I'm in a busy train station or, you know, whatever. So user context matters a lot.
Yeah. So I found like an example prompt, but I'm not sure if that's something that they would use for people they're telling not, like they don't have to have any design experience. But one of the prompts I saw was like design a bike rental system for downtown Seattle. So in that context, it would be like, okay, well, I guess I come up with the problem that right away I'm like, oh, well, the user is probably young millennials who work in the city, don't own a vehicle, they don't want to own a vehicle. They're trying to get around to their jobs. but I know I need to ask questions to uncover that instead of assuming. So,
Hey, stop. That's okay. You can have a hypothesis, but you need to do the research to verify.
mhm.
So it's okay to have a hypothesis. Like, I really thought it'd be millennials, but it turns out we have a lot of people from the nursing home that want to ride around on scooters, you know? So,
Or you forgot tourists or whatever. It's
Oh,
like,
yeah, true.
so it's okay to have a hypothesis, that you have to have somewhere to start.
right. And then talk about how you might validate, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're gonna do fine.
You're doing great. Dance party before. Okay. All right. And Gemma, you put in the question about a UX boot camp. I know UX San Antonio, UTSA, I keep getting this mixed up. UTSA has a boot camp, but I don't know about that. I am self-taught, so I have not been to boot camps. I've heard that they are, they give you a quick overview of everything, so that you kind of dive 2 weeks at each field, and then you're out. And you're like, still have no experience. You've just gotten enough information to get started. And there's a lot of companies that don't hire from boot camps because they're not experienced enough, and they haven't dove deep into it. So it's a, you know, I know it's a $10,000-$15,000 for 4 to 6 months. So
Yes, I did the UTXA that you mentioned, and I felt it was like that. I did learn a lot, but I had to teach myself a lot. And now that I'm trying to incorporate it at my job, I am doing a lot of research on everything, but I'm still glad I did it. At least it gave me a lot of the basic structure that I see other people asking. But I feel that maybe the price is not worth that. But I'm still glad I did it.
yeah, it just depends on your circumstances, and if you feel like you can do that. Any other questions or discussion points?
I feel like there was one more in here that we didn't get to.
A question.
Did you have a question? A question, Christian? Sorry, I forgot how to speak.
Yes. So I did a boot camp as well, and it was geared more to UX design, where then I realized I'm more into the strategy and the research piece. And what I've noticed when I've been applying for opportunities, or even when I'm looking for opportunities, there aren't any junior roles in research or content strategy. Like, do you guys know where one can find that information, or do they even have that? I know that they have the UX apprenticeships and UX internships, but I don't see anything in regards to UX research.
Right. Well, and that's the problem, is that's why we're here basically, is because they kind of put y'all through boot camp and then throw you to the wolves, and nobody wants anybody that doesn't have less than 3 years experience. So there's this gap of, you know, where do you guys, you know, get your experience in order to be hired at 3 years, you know? So that we're trying to help fill that gap, and there are opportunities out there. There are a lot of like Viviana just shared a job board, but we have to share it out with each other. There's other research groups that I follow as well on Slack. They have job postings. We have a job posting channel. We just try to, you know, reach out and say if there's any opportunities or that sort of thing. And they go quickly. They go very quickly. And, you know, and just thinking about the maturity of companies, they're all, let's say 5 is they are amazing model UX, you know, supportive and all that. Most of them are around, you know, 2 to 3. and there's a lot there at one. So they need some seniors to come in and set up the whole system and then bring in the juniors. And that's where we're at in the industry. And so they're not quite ready for you guys yet. So you're kind of, hit and miss on that. So we're going to try to help with that gap and give you the experience you need. And that's why we're doing things like Pooja and Aurelius are both on the survey project and getting experience on that. So we try to give y'all opportunities here in our company in our organization, so that you can carry that forward and put it on your resume. I have experience, I've done this, and I know what it means, and you could lead them, once you get done. And Adrienne has, tell you about your group.
Yeah, I'm leading a workshop, a project design system, where we're actually using the UXSA, uxsanantonio.org website. Has a lot of inconsistencies on it. So we've actually turned that into a project where we're creating a unified design system for that. And that is something that the team has been working on over, a couple of months. We meet every other week. And we're actually creating a unified design system and creating it as deliverable components within Figma. So the people who are participating will be able to, put that in their portfolio. And again, going back to, when I talk with my recruiters, when it comes to juniors, if you have something that's shippable or something that has shipped in your portfolio, that is going to, get you so much closer in the door. But again, if you also have like some school projects as well, put that in your portfolio. If you've gone through a boot camp, always think of it as, it's getting your foot in the door, and continue to learn and continue to invest. And the harder that you work, the better it's going to pay off for you. You could have a master's in user experience design, and I've actually seen this, and be absolutely terrible at your job. Just like the person who graduates last in their class in medical school is still called doctor. But it's about how much you're going to invest into your career, and if you want it and if you work hard for it, you're going to get there. It doesn't matter if you went to Harvard or not. Well, I mean, if you go to Harvard, you're probably going to get the top of the line. But do you want to be good at what you're doing? Do you love this? Do you have a passion for it? And Kristen, if you've got a passion for research, jump into some of these projects that Cherri is doing.
Yeah.
I
have resources. I have so much I could completely overwhelm you, and I don't want to do that because I don't want to scare you off. But I am doing research, and I'm doing this community because this is something I would be doing whether I'm getting paid to do it or not. And I love it. I think it's amazing. I brought Gemma on because I think she would love it. It's like, come on, share the fun with me. So it's something we have to keep. It's a learning process, and it depends on what project you're in and what you want to learn. And first you have to kind of self-guide, and then you can do it by the company. Sometimes I was given a project I had never done before. I had never used this method before. And I would check and say, I have to either learn how to do this method or, discuss why I can't. So let's dive in. And, so you just have to give it a chance, but you're in the right place. So.
Would you recommend, okay, what I've also noticed when I'm applying for research positions, they're asking for PhDs. And I just wanted to know, is that common, or is this just people that actually don't really know what a UX researcher is, and they're just asking for, something very grandiose, even though it's not that serious? Because to me, no offense, I feel like UX research is not, it shouldn't be something that requires a PhD. And I just want to say that.
Well, let me tell you that I was a senior researcher in the position I was in before, and I hired a girl with PhD, and she was my junior. I was her mentor. She had a PhD in psychology and criminology. So she'd already done a lot of research, but she was not in the, you know, in this space, in an agency space. So she didn't have the day-to-day experience, and she's still there. I just talked to her today. She's still there. But she has a PhD, and when I ask her, do I need to call you doctor? And she's like, oh, no, 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 you know? And so it's good to have a PhD. If you happen to have one, it shouldn't hold you back, but I don't think you're required to have one. I have a bachelor's. I do not even have a master's. I'm not going for it. I got my bachelor's, and that's good enough. And the rest I've taught myself. And my bachelor's is in business. So, you know, it could be in basket weaving. It doesn't matter.
No, it matters.
It does.
Training matters. Okay, so I'm on a project now. I have a bachelor's in radio, television, film, but I started so far back when the web was new, even before that. So I have been able to build my experience and expertise over many, 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 many years. So I feel like I'm better than a PhD in a lot of areas, but there are certain areas that I need a real card-carrying PhD person for. Right now, I'm doing some usability testing for City of San Antonio. We have a very complex set of users. It's all residents, all businesses, all the people that work at the city, all the politicians, all of the political organizations and analysts and journalists. It's a very, very complex problem set. And the person that I have designing tests is a PhD anthropologist with more than 25 years experience. So in this case, I don't even feel qualified to design all of these tests and the cadence by which they should happen and how many tests make a valid task test and how else we might solve the problems. Like she wants to do interviewing, and she has the whole user experience, user research tool belt that we can bring to bear. Accessibility. So even the PhD anthropologist doesn't know as much about accessibility, people who are blind, deaf, you know, cognitive impairments, mobility impairments. It's a very complex set. So I'm going to need to bring in some other people who are good at that. And I'm good at a whole lot of it. And if you're the type of person that is a generalist and a lifelong learner, it's a wonderful field, wonderful field. So don't let it hold you back, but sometimes they do need a PhD anthropologist. The other thing that I find myself needing help with is statistics. Like, what is statistically valid on stuff? That's not always necessary, but it's really helpful for the data analysis part. And when billions of dollars matter, like for, are we collecting enough tax money? That expertise really does matter. So I'm just going to give you a caveat. Sometimes it really does matter.
It does. And I'm not to take away from that. I'm saying I've made it without one.
Yes.
Can make it without one, but it really, you know, for her situation, it's great. So yeah. And you can go on Slack, join Slack, and join us on Mentor Mondays to get experience and where you can sign up for things. Pooja, go ahead.
Hi, Cherri. So I had a question regarding what we discussed with red flags and also when you were talking about design maturity at an organization. So I find that when I'm looking at job postings for UX research positions, a lot of them tend to be within startup companies. And I would say, especially with my experience working at a startup company, inherently, a lot of the red flags that you discussed are a large part of startup companies of being disorganized, not being super mature with design, like just a lot of the red flags that you discussed. So I'm just wondering, and I think I've learned through my experience at a startup that in fact, working at a bigger organization would be better for me and is more like is a better environment for me to like learn and grow in.
Right, comfort level.
Yes. So I'm just wondering for you, Cherri, and also Adrienne as well, and Susan, if you think it's possible to avoid startups in this field and hold out for finding a job at a big organization. Like, is it truly possible to I guess, avoid those problems and those red flags?
Startups aren't necessarily a bad place to work at.
Mhm.
I mean, it's kind of up to you. I have gone from like startups to mid-level to larger companies and everything in between. So some of my best work experience has been in startups. So
You
Yeah.
have more latitude.
Mhm.
You have more latitude to do more things, and it moves a lot faster, and you see the results of your work a lot faster.
Yeah, I was fixing to say
They're
you have
willing
more
to
autonomy.
accept more risk. And they're more willing to take a chance on you.
Yeah.
yeah, you'll
It's just-
definitely get a lot of
It just
experience.
depends on your tolerance, you know, if you can afford to have the ups and downs and your emotional and, you know, ability. Bye, Adrienne. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. If it's your tolerance level, you know, if I just need a job, any kind of job right now, or can I afford to, you know, take a chance here and just step out?
Not all startups are equal also.
Yeah.
There are ones that are well-funded. Ask them what round of funding they're on, because the ones that are more mature will be on the 3rd or 4th level, you know, round of funding, that they've got more of their stuff worked out. Also, you can negotiate for equity. You can have some ownership. I've made money by having ownership in startup companies.
Mhm.
So it's another one of those levers that you can pull.
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay. So our next meetup for next month is breaking into the UX research role. So this seems like it's gonna be very relevant for most of you who are interested in that. Nir Solomon is a UX researcher. Susan, do you want to talk a little bit about him?
No.
Okay. So you'll see the information this week. We should have it up by the weekend, early next week. Have it on Meetup for you to check it out. But we just got confirmation yesterday that he's on, and so we will do that. We've also got June planned. We've got a speaker for June. We are starting the Mentor Mondays. I've just got it through the first part of June because I know everybody goes, you know, but summer's crazy. So I thought I would do it through June just for the spring. We'll do Mentor Mondays and see how that goes. And that'll get you guys involved in some volunteer work. And it's an open forum for everybody to just kind of discuss topics like we have tonight, but it's not recorded. And it's just an open space for us to meet up. So we hope to see you at one of those. And I think that's all we have for tonight. Yep.
Thank you
All
so
right.
much.
Thanks so much for everybody coming, and we'll see you on Slack.